His lifelong hero was Ernest Shackleton, and it was his journey across the Antarctic that Henry Worsley was trying to recreate, with a huge added challenge that Worsley was entirely alone. Like Shackleton, his bravery and his willingness to endure endless uncharted terrain led him into a desperate race for survival that ended in his death. The British explorer died of organ failure tragically when the end of the mission was almost in sight. Just 30 miles remained of his 1,000 or so mile journey. Prince William has led the tributes to the former SAS officer who died raising money for wounded soldiers. Stephen Smith has our report.
Good evening. So, underway at last. Thunderbirds are go. It's -7 Celsius only and no wind. It's just the best place on earth right now.
All alone in Antarctica, Henry Worsley kept an audio diary of his extraordinary trek.
So in sum, it's been a taxing but enjoyable day just to witness this very special place all to myself.
He hoped to achieve what his great hero, Sir Ernest Shackleton, had failed to do a century earlier, and cross this great white wilderness. On earlier accompanied adventures, Worsley settled down for the long evenings with Shackleton's writing.
We read the heart of the Antarctic every night and pick out bits of his diary that are absolutely spot on to where we've got to on the journey. Really great, very sort of meaningful really. It brings it all to life, particularly the description of the views he can see and trouble he's having with his ponies and even the weather. He had slightly worse weather than we're having.
Shackleton's one of the great romantic figures of British exploration. His epic mission failed after his ship was crushed by ice, but he kept his men alive. They all came home again. He's remembered in an exhibition at the Royal Geographical Society in London.
I think it's got a lot to do with the psyche of the British public in terms of the storytelling that goes with all of these expeditions, because they're kind of handed down to us through generations. There is always a willingness for somebody to give up something for others. Those were the equivalents of NASA sending men into space. You know, they had a sense of where they were going, they had all of the equipment that they could carry, all of the skills that they could have individually, but ultimately it was the men in the wilderness environment.
Today I reminded myself that as I soon head north, just how much I will heavily rely on willpower to see me through the challenges ahead.
On his earlier journey in the South Pole, Henry Worsley reached a spot where Shackleton decided he couldn't go on.
The decision to turn back must be one of the greatest decisions taken in the whole annals of exploration, particularly polar exploration. He came so close. He pioneered this route, 850 odd miles. You know, every day he was seeing new sights. 97 miles to go, and he turns around when such a glorious prize is staring him in the face.
And my hero, Ernest Shackleton, stood 97 miles from the South Pole on the morning of January the 9th, 1909. He said he'd shot his bolt. Well, today, I have to inform you in some sadness that I too have shot my bolt. My journey is at an end. I have run out of time, physical endurance, and the simple, sheer inability to slide one ski in front of the other to cover the distance required to reach my goal.
Henry Worsley in his own words there, and we're joined now by the record-breaking polar explorer Caroline Hamilton, and from our Birmingham studio, professional explorer Mark Wood, who is a friend of Henry Worsley and has completed over 30 major expeditions around the world, including a solo expedition to the South Pole. Thank you both very much for coming in. And Mark, I know you were good friends with Henry, and we really got a sense in that film of the man at the heart of this tragedy. How did you see him?
Well, I met Henry when I arrived actually at the South Pole in 2012 after my solo attempt there, and I found it extraordinarily difficult to reach the pole itself. And when I first met Henry, he was full of smiles and fun and laughter. And then I found out, like 5 minutes later, that he just completed an 80-day plus expedition himself. So an extraordinary strong-willed, powerful man with a deep sense of humour.
Do you understand that need for solo exploration? That seemed to be sort of quintessential to this whole expedition, that drive to do it alone.
Yeah, I mean, exploring is either about what you walk through, what you see, or what you feel internally. And to do a solo expedition is a different step altogether. You can't train for it, you just have to be thrown into the deep end. And I can really understand why Henry wanted to take up this expedition historically, but also for personal reasons, and that's why we explore to begin with. It all becomes personal to start off with.
Caroline, how do you explain to somebody who isn't an explorer just why you would take your life in your hands like this to achieve something like that?
I think it's about challenging yourself. It's there, it's a wonderful thing to do. As Mark's been saying, when you're out there, you've got kind of an inner journey going on at the same time as the outer journey. And Antarctica and the Arctic, but Antarctica in particular, is incredibly beautiful. And it's such a privilege to be there. You know, the whole thing, it's an assault on your every sense. It's not just what it looks like, it's what it smells like, what it sounds like. And to be able to spend 60, 70, 80 days, however long it is that you're out there, it's a huge privilege to be in just a wonderful part of the planet.
And you're talking about what conditions of minus 40 or lower. What does the cold, what does that actually do to you mentally and to your actions?
It affects everything. I remember days, many days, sort of evenings in the tent, where you're melting snow to make water to drink and to make your food with. And as you melt the water, of course, you get steam coming up from the water. You've got condensation from your own breath. And I remember days sitting in the tent where the whole place, we were in this kind of fog, and none of us could think of anything to say to each other, except how cold we were. We couldn't see each other. We couldn't think of anything to say. Well, we couldn't think of anything to say except how cold we were at that point.
And Mark, when you heard in the film Henry describing that moment for Shackleton, the agony of turning back, does that tell you something perhaps about why he himself left it so late?
It's difficult to say, but I think if you're travelling as a team, then when you get medical conditions, then you've got other people to add their judgment to it. And I think if it was a team approach, then the expedition would have stopped a little bit earlier. But because Henry's got this tremendous drive of determination in him, any injuries that come up, then you think you can actually get through it. I can't really speak for the situation, obviously, but I presume that it was just sheer determination that he thought he could get past it and reach the final goal.
And do you think that ultimately that was where it went wrong, that you lose, if you like, your sense of judgment of how bad things have got?
Yeah, it's difficult for me to say, but I would say that you haven't got anything to measure it against apart from yourself. So I think he pushed it as far as he could. Then literally his body said, "No, I can't do this anymore." The problem with great explorers like Henry is that he has this real dogged British determination to just go that little bit further, and it might have been the ultimate sort of decision, really.
And Caroline, when you think how connected we all are all the time, in a way that's what makes a journey like this so extraordinary, the idea that you don't see humankind, you don't have any contact for all that. Do you think that is what makes it more attractive
I
now?
think that is part of the joy of it. You're out there in this wonderful environment, you're entirely self-sufficient. Clearly, if you're a team, I entirely agree, you've got people around you you can share problems with, and who can help with decision making. But even if you're a small group, you're entirely self-sufficient in this amazing wilderness. And that is part of the appeal, yes.
Caroline Hamilton and Mark Wood, thank you both very much indeed. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.